How's it going? Good? Y'all ready? Okay. Hi, everyone. Sit down. No, just kidding. Sorry, I'm a little late. I was telling y'all I don't mess, and here I was gabbing away in the hallway, so sorry. Okay, so on to the next presentation here. And we have a really good panel here to really kind of talk a little bit more about the Native American Language Resource Centers that are really developed to help and service resources to our communities here across the nation. So they are going to do self-intros and introduce themselves and their work that they do. So I'm going to hand it over here to the team. Take it away.
Thank you, Raul. Pagiwa pagandabeo sa chongchi, wanyanit Ophelia Cepeda, chiko amjit him, tohana atamajotakam, homoniko apataha abrichukshonam, kapap chipkin, hoke amjit apadak chipkin, ida o atamnio. Ya the basha chongchi, metafta, tatum, matusi chat nakok, ya tata, ya journey kapamjit ida matomo bajum, and now hanasiya. So again, just real quickly, my name is Ophelia Cepeda, and I'm faculty at the University of Arizona in Tucson. I'm of the Tohono O'odham Nation, and we're very pleased to be here this morning as a full panel represented here as part of our the ILI symposium. So I'm going to begin for our panel and give a little brief introduction to these new centers, and we have representatives from each of the centers, and they will be our panelists this morning. So I don't know how many of you all are aware that there are now these Native American Language Resource Centers, and they basically were funded in fall of last year. The call for proposals came out a year ago, summer. The purpose of the program, as you can read, is of course through the U.S. Department of Education. And basically, there was, again, a review, attention paid to the original document called the Native American Languages Act, which many of us hold very true as part of our work in supporting the work that we do in language, not only in schools but elsewhere. So anyway, so the department pulled its various resources to support in establishing and strengthening and operating at least one or more Native American Language Center or centers. And anyway, so that is written in that document, the Native American Languages Act, and that act is more than 30 years old now. Many of the points in that document have never been fully addressed. Some have, but not all, and this is one of them, and so now it has happened. So just a real brief background, again in 2022, Congress moved to address the issue of language, indigenous language or Native American languages in the U.S., and to address instruction in schools for young children, and then of course all various types of schooling opportunities that is available to Native American children with an emphasis on language. And this also included, of course, schools that are, they used to be called survival schools, schools that had predominantly using the native language for instruction. So anyway, so there is now a law that was passed, the Native American Language Resource Center Act, and that was in 2022. As a result of that, there was a RFP that came out and inviting organizations and people to apply. And so as a result, 3 centers got funded, 3 regional centers got funded, and 1 national center. And here is a map of these centers. So the National Center that is indicated with the little green star, the National Native American Language Resource Center. As you can see, it's because it's a national center, it has various sites to it. And so one of them is the University of Hawaii, Imaloa Institute, La Cordillera Ojibwe University, and then the University of Alaska Southeast. So that's the National Center. The other 3 centers include the Northwest Center, the Northwest Native Language Resource Center, which is housed at the University of Oregon. And it is affiliated or a part of the Northwest Indian Language Institute, or NELI, that has also been around for many, many years. And so they're there at the University of Oregon. The 3rd center that was established is the West or Western Regional Native American Language Resource Center, and that is housed at the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona. And also, like NELI, the Western Regional Resource Center is part of another institute that has been there and has a long history, and that is the American Indian Language Development Institute. And so those 2 are sort of very unique in that organization, but you'll hear more about it from each of the panelists as they talk about their centers. And then the 3rd center is the Midwest Native American Language Resource Center, and that is housed at Little Priest College. And so you can see by our map here with our logos of the different institutes, the regions that each of these centers are responsible for serving in all the areas of language work. So this morning we have our panelists, and like I said, they are representing each of the centers, the 3 regional centers and the national center. And so we will start this morning, and each of them are going to say a little bit about their center. They'll introduce their center, and then I'll have some questions for them specifically regarding their centers and their work. So we're going to start with the National Center, and the National Center is being represented here this morning by Leslie Harpor.
Mi great Ophelia. Gidanime kunanim ginawasa ninasa sagajue gaboy kwe dikea ima ojibwewa king andon jeba iminwendan wabamanagu gomasa. I'm Leslie Harpor. I am an enrolled member of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe up in north central Minnesota. Up in the Great Lakes region is where our people are from. I come here through a long and winding trail of language revitalization work, language reclamation work, and here we are. I am representing the National Native American Language Resource Center, which Ophelia gave a very quick and brief introduction to. Who are we? What are we doing? What's any of this about? This is also another picture of, what we did with our team for the National Native American Language Resource Center. The NALA, the Native American Languages Act, is very inclusive and, has a legal definition of Native American languages, which includes our American Indian languages, Native languages in Alaska, and the Hawaiian Native languages, and the languages of the islands and the territories. So it's a really broad-ranging thing. A lot of times in the federal agencies, in the policy realm, our people have been separated out. They say, we're going to do Alaska over here. You guys deal with your stuff. You islanders deal with your stuff, and you American Indians deal with your stuff. But the Native American Languages Act of 1990 emphasized the common context and the commonalities of, colonization in our areas and what our languages mean to us. And it was through an indigenous lens. It was indigenous people who came together from all of those areas who helped to really push that forward in relationships with the federal government. So when we went for the National Language Resource Center, we said, of course, this has to be broad ranging and there has to be a lot of really smart people from all of these populations. So this is where we're from. This is our team. It takes a lot of folks to do this. So just as Hune was saying, collective leadership. In the terminology, we have PIs, principal investigators. We have co-PIs. It's not just centered in one spot. So we have Native Hawaiians, we have Alaska Natives, and we have folks from American Indian tribes. Kai'u Pila Wilson, Ida Burgee, Hune Twitchell, and McIzzy Sullivan. And then we have several nonprofit partners in each of the communities who help to inform us as well. Expert practitioners, folks who have been doing language work for decades and who are really on the ball. We have some staff, we have a handful of advisors, and also we always need more advising. We want this to be a reciprocal relationship with language practitioners. I always get nervous when this comes up. We had a strategic planning session about what's the National Native Language Center going to be, because this is a new implementation. This idea of one language center serving all of the country, we really pushed against that in tribal consultations and in community listening sessions, that one center could serve all of our people. That's like crazy. We're not one monolith. But when we got down to our work, this made sense to us to strengthen and empower every Native American language. You can tell I've got the nervous laugh about that as the project director who gets to wrangle this, but it's true. It is from our hearts, it's from our guts, and it is responsive to the idea of a National Native American Language Resource Center. It's a long, long look into the future. Our center is developing new resources and developing, processes and conversations. Our stakeholders are language practitioners. They are decision makers, whether that is our decision makers in our community, elected leadership, and we want to inform on policy. So here's, 5 core pillars that we're building on. This isn't the be all to end all, but we said, all right, this sounds like something great to take on for the first round of this. That's some really tiny text, but it just describes a little bit more about the pillars. We want to demystify native language medium ideas. We want to demystify these policy things that get us all tangled up. We will be working to support teacher training programs through our ways. What are our ways? They are conducting, hosting site visits to all of these nonprofit and language site partners that are doing the work and really kind of codifying what's happening at the sites and describing what does language medium education look like. Resource development, we are in the process of developing a website with a resource hub that's going to link with the regionals. We also want to put out tons of information that's helpful for all of us doing language work. We got to translate this to, Congress needs to understand what we're really doing and what we're really needing. And research, dissemination, of course, getting the word out, and leadership development. We want to look at the next generation of folks and make sure that we're bringing people up so that we're not the only ones who know how to, we're not sitting here at 70 and 80 years old saying, let me tell you about native language policy. We want everyone to be able to understand this and to have it right on the tips of their tongues, to be able to speak about, to be able to negotiate with. And again, from an Indigenous perspective, from our team, this is all grounded in how do we get people closer to their languages, right? Language access. How do we create equitable pathways to support and empower Native American languages? How do we encourage policy and promotion? Like that erasure that Hune was mentioning is real. So these are the activities of our center. Come to our afternoon session so we can get more info. Hey. Up next is our partner from the West Region, Language Resource Center.
Nakwang talang ba askwali masos ya fita bam tobal to te kahita san ita mamatak na mga umay akaltani na tuwa Sheilah Nicholas yan pahan ma tu kyang na hopi sino ni ka panwat piu nama taktani na kotahon manayan hopi ma tiwa na kalwang wapu na sangopangak sino. So thank you for joining us to have us introduce our centers and a very exciting journey we're all on, but it also is very daunting as well as exciting. So thankfully we are here as a collaborative group. We've been working that way from the get-go, and that's been really helpful in doing this. So the West Regional Native American Language Resource Center was initially to be housed in the American Indian Language Development Institute, which has been in operation since 1978. We're coming up to 50 years of the work done there. Some things changed, and now we are separate physically, but overall, we're still on the same campus. So it's really important to recognize that this work is building on all the history, long history, almost 50 years. Our partners are, we have, I think, a unique aspect of this. We are partnering also with 3 tribal colleges in the state of Arizona, all of them who have also, varying established histories, Diné College being the oldest, as well as To'ona'atam doing really great work now, and then San Carlos Apache with its newest, as a newest tribal college entity and partner. Let's see. Our team is comprised of, first of all, Dr. Ophelia Zepeda, who is the grant PI of this whole proposal. And it's really a little bit more daunting for me too, because I was on sabbatical when this proposal was being drafted. So that's my boss right here, and I'm saying these things right in front of her, so hopefully I'm saying them correctly. So I am the project director, very privileged and honored to be able to have been invited to do this work. We finally got our staff on board just a month ago, and that is Dr. Adrienne Zaikiwa, who is both an alum of ALDI as well as the Master's in Native American Linguistics at the University of Arizona. So she's our project manager. We also brought in another student from NAMA, Mateo Pomilio, who is our graduate assistant in this work. And I'm just really saying right here out loud to everyone that within a month, we have been really on the move, and I really have them to thank for that. So the proposal was, again, built on this whole idea to continue to do the work that ALDI has been doing for close to 50 years, which is support and advocacy. A lot of our practitioners who came to ALDI over these years were working in school-based programs. So consistently working with them and continuing that work. We were also already training and providing technical assistance in order for them to have this kind of assistance in implementing their own instruction in these spaces. And then tech support overall, because many of our students from the NAMA are involved in those kinds of work in terms of technology, apps and things like that, just all sorts of amazing things that they use for tools, and then consultation and support. So that's what ALDI has been doing for all of these decades, but they noticed that there were some major gaps that needed to be addressed. One was, services. Currently we, provide the service at the institution. So it requires the communities who want these services to pay those tuition fees to come to us and get these services. And also the infrastructure that they may themselves not have in place, but are starting to move toward and want. And many other opportunities that we saw as very much critical needs among the communities who have been coming to us for a long time. So overall, our broad purpose in our center is to expand on all this, primarily to move towards outreach where we can go to the communities to find out what needs they have and to really work towards providing those kinds of needs, resources for those kinds of needs, because it's something that we're not out there in those communities, so it's really hard to really know what it is that they need. So development in particular, we're looking at 3 certificate programs, one in language immersion, a mentor-apprentice learning in Native American classrooms, which has been already piloted by one of our colleagues, Dr. Aresta Sosi Paddock, and then one in Native language revitalization. So those are programs we're looking to develop as something new. And I think we've always had that in mind. It's just that we haven't actually put it into a formal process. And then continued advocacy for Native American language inclusion in educational systems. And again, I think really unique is that we are already providing support in a financial way to the work that 3 tribal colleges are currently doing. So our first states are Arizona and Utah, and you can see right here that one of the things that we are really in the process of doing right now is to find out what those language programs are, where they are located. There are many. In Arizona, there's 22 tribes. So we don't know about all of them. We've worked with many. Utah is the same. We have to get to know them, find where they're at. And then you look at California with its really diverse and numerous communities in that whole state, as well as in Nevada. So, working with these new tribal communities is the exciting part, but how we get in touch with them in a very short time, because we are now already in our 2nd year, becomes one of the major tasks that we're really intensifying in terms of what we need to do. So currently being here at this venue is really important for us. What we've done to help, and this is, again, the work of the staff that I have, is we created this little card, and you'll see maybe 2 of them or so on your tables, where we're asking, who are you, where are you located, and what might be some needs that you could provide for us, because that's the input that we really need in order to do the best work that we can. There's a QR code on those that you can tap into and fill out for us. It's a very short, we all know about the fact that most of us don't like to do surveys, but that seems to be really handy. So we've tried to make it as, very specific and quick as possible. So if you would be willing to do that for us, that would be so helpful to us. Okay. Squelly.
Oha, Jurgita Antoine, my name is Jurgita Antoine, and I greet you with a good heart. I am project director at Midwest Regional Native American Language Resource Center, which is the only center that is hosted at a tribal college. And Little Priest Tribal College is chartered by the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. We're located on the beautiful campus in Winnebago, Nebraska, and this is who we are. There are not many of us. I'm the only full-time staff, assisted by Alexandria Walker, who is the Native Studies faculty. And right in the middle, you see our college president, Manoj Patil, who is, he is not on the project staff, but just like you see him here, he's behind the scenes. He's very interested in the project. He's very supportive of languages and language revitalization, and just the way you see him here, this is how he does things. And one other thing that I would add about our team too is that myself and others that I'm surrounded by, we're all multilingual. We cannot use that word fluent anymore, right? So it doesn't make any sense anyway when you speak languages. So I speak somewhere around 4 or 5. I learn 3 times more. In the order of learning, English is my 3rd language, and Lakota is somewhere around 12. Our president also speaks 4 languages, and which is very important for us, because in the planning process, when you're working with multilingual people, you skip a lot of steps. You don't have to explain a lot of things. I do not have to go and explain to him that people need to speak their languages, or that you need curriculum for the languages to be learned, or that we need orthographies. You're skipping steps. You just go straight to the point. What do we need to do? And we do that. And in addition to that, the contractors that we work with, and that's of course, and my faculty member, of course, people are, again, I cannot use that word, they speak their Native American languages. So what do? We are a regional hub that provides technical assistance and support to Native American language schools and programs. That's the idea. What is technical assistance? We have been discussing that with the other centers, just trying to define what that would be. But in plain and simple language, it's everything and anything that your programs need. What are the areas of interest? So we're looking at supporting native language medium education programs, which are also known as immersion schools, and native language programs, schools that teach courses in English medium education system. And for pillars or areas of work, they're pretty uniform when you're talking about language teaching, language maintenance. So we're looking at creating and providing assistance with language standards and curriculum, specifically written into our project, were digital tools and resources, and among them, throughout the state of Nebraska, there is a course management system that is being widely used by schools and universities. It's called Canvas. And we are creating, or we will be creating, actually the planning process is in progress right now. We will be creating course units for language courses 1 through 4, in starting out with 4 languages in our region. So Ho-Chunk, Omaha, Lakota, and Dakota. So that the teachers, the instructors would have these ready curriculum units, which if they need to use, they can use those or modify. There are also other digital tools and resources that are currently being discussed. In terms of assessment and evaluation, we're also looking at various types and various models, what would be useful, and also looking at providing more professional development, including even workshops like this, bringing them to our region. We're discussing teacher training and certification models, also research, which includes language documentation and research on acquisition, transmission, making those materials more accessible to the people who are practitioners in the field, who are actually doing the work and who could benefit from that information. So for outreach and dissemination, once you collect information, once you have a lot of information, you need to also make sure that it gets out, right? So one of the things too that we have under this is language ambassadors. And we're looking at, again, starting with these 4 languages, Ho-Chunk, Omaha, Lakota, and Dakota, to have 2 language ambassadors per year that will do some work raising awareness of native languages in the communities. And another thing too that we're doing is building expert networks, which means that we're collecting information on the expertise of the people, like the experts that you see on this panel, so that if programs have needs and if they contact us regarding some skill that is not available locally, that we can connect you to the people who have that skill and who could fill that need. And another thing too that I will say about our model of operation, before I came to this center, I was Native Language Research Director at AHEC. And the model that we developed there, working with tribal college and university native language programs, was that we first come to you and talk to you about your needs, about the resources that you have. Then, based on what you tell us, we will bring those items to the region, to the entire region for discussion, and we will prioritize those needs. And we'll see what is needed throughout the region across the board, so everybody knows and everybody is involved. So when we bring that, that workshop or training or another event, that everybody in the region know about it. So the data that we have to date, and like I said, the way the project was designed And I have to acknowledge too that the project was designed and written by a Ho-Chunk educator and visionary. She's now executive director of Ho-Chunk CDC, Christine Earth, who has taught Ho-Chunk language in the public school system and at the college. And her vision was to start in the community and to start out with 4 languages in the region, Ho-Chunk, Omaha, and Dakota and Lakota, and then expand, right? And you saw the map that we have from the Canadian border through Kansas. We have Wyoming and Colorado, and to the west, and then the border, eastern border of Missouri to the east, right? So, but there are more languages, of course, in the region than those 4 that I mentioned. So during year 1, we're building the baseline data and directories of programs and languages that we have. And so we reached 8 languages during year 1. And that is on top of our first 4. We have also communities that speak Ojibwe in North Dakota, Hidatsa, Saanish, and Nakota. And I believe the total of about 10 tribes or tribal nations was reached. So with this, I will give you this link to go to our little web page that we have on the college website. And I will say Pinagigi, Pilamayape, and thank you.
Sheilah, Slahayim, Sheilah. My name is Joana Jansen. I'm here representing the Northwest Native American Language Regional Center. We're located at the University of Oregon. And of course, although I'm the one here speaking to you, I speak as well on behalf of my colleagues, all of the teachers, the learners, the elders who've supported NALRC over the years and who really built this grant application and the work we're planning to do. Officially on the team, our project investigator, project director, Joana Jansen. We have a programmer to help with some of our website and resource hub development, Norman Kerr. Very excited that we now have a project manager. This happened within the last month, and we've been wanting this to have happened since we got the grant, right? But bureaucracy moves slowly. So Stacy Scahn, my colleague, NALRCs director Robert Elliott, and I are co-PIs on the project. NALRC is the little sister of Aldi and ILI, was developed in 1997 when teachers and elders who had come here to Aldi came home and said, well, there's nothing here. What's happening here in the Northwest that's for our teachers and our languages? We need help. Some of those teachers and elders were from the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, and there are also Warm Springs colleagues in the room today. So that was really the foundation of this work. We also have a very big mission or goal that comes throughout the whole project. The funder is the Federal Department of Education, which has not served Native communities real well. It's important to us that this, and so the grant language is all about educational systems, right? And a very seemingly formal view of a classroom. What does your pre-K through 16 classroom look like? And within our work, we want to be really mindful that that's not where language work happens. That's not where languages need to be spoken. So school, home, and in community are places we want to support language use. We base this work within the practices that are already going on within your communities. That's at the bottom here. To really reflect and honor the expertise that's going on that we don't hold at the university. We have a piece of some things, but everyone working on language has so much more. Within the project, we laid out 4 goals. The first one is really the policy and advocacy piece, and it's about transforming education. Again, a big picture, scary thing, but what can we do? We wrote this based on the priorities of the grant. So how can we help determine and share effective practices and policies, knowing that every language situation is different, and that there's no one size fits all here within this very broad region. We'll work with institutes of higher education, state and local educational agencies, and tribal language programs within the area. Our area is Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. Neely's had some pretty strong connections in Oregon, but this is a time of growth for us. And we too, along with our colleagues, are asking you all for help, for support, for communicating with us to tell us what's going on so that we know more about that base. A second one of our goals is very much following in line of what Neely has been doing in terms of teacher development. How can we help to build native language teacher expertise to support recruitment, retention of teachers? We know that everyone could use more teachers, right? And to really help with teacher leadership. A third goal is technical assistance for programs seeking federal resources, so any kind of grant assistance. And then, like our colleagues, to develop and put out a resource hub that disseminates the products of the grant, and that also helps to improve connections among programs. Who's doing great things, who are the experts to go to for some of these answers. We thought of this as a watershed model, that the language, and I'll show you that on our logo as well, that the language communities, the elders, the existing documentation, the speakers and the learners, that's the foundation of the knowledge. The activities might reinforce that, and then the hub is a place where that can be gathered, disseminated, and again, return to where it's needed. This, I don't see much of it, no. Yeah, I'm gonna go up a little. You can see that sort of idea as well in the logo that's to the upper right here with the elder to child dissemination. So where is, also on your tables, there's a QR code for the Northwest region, but really we invite you, even, don't worry, I filled out the wrong region. We talk to one another, or don't worry, wait, I'm from Oklahoma. I don't have a QR code. Fill out one of the QR codes. We talk to each other, and we'll let folks know to please, if you want to, let us know what's going on, give us your contact information so we can be in touch about what we're planning to be offering. Go back to you.
Well, thank you to all of the representatives from the centers and the National Center for giving you a really quick overview of the center. As we mentioned, they are brand new. Some of you may be hearing about them for the first time. And we put up our map again, and you notice that the centers start from the Midwest and go west. And so perhaps you're concerned about our, other languages going towards the east of the country. It just turned out, as far as we know and what we've been told, was that there were a small number of institutions and organizations that did apply for this to become centers, regional centers. And so, you know, and out of that small number, you even got a smaller number that were actually funded. And so we ended up with the 3 regionals and, of course, the national center. And then, of course, as you can see, we're all housed at universities, institutions of higher learning, university and tribal college. And, you know, there's different relationships, experiences with indigenous people, and especially when it comes to language work with universities and places of higher learning. But we do want to assure you that we are very, even despite our locations and our designated regions that we have to serve, we don't believe in those boundaries, and so we're very open, as Joanna mentioned also. So feel free, you know, to inquire about that. And of course, we're going to have the afternoon session where you can inquire even more. So what we're going to do next is we have a small set of questions, so we're going to ask each of the center representatives to respond to. And these questions hopefully will give you a sense of the status of the work that the centers are doing right now. The earlier part, of course, hopefully gave you a little background and sort of the larger vision and many of the goals that they set as part of their center's mission. So anyway, so we have a couple of questions that we'll have each of the centers respond to, or center representatives respond to. So of course our first question is, and this is how someone wrote it, it's like, so how's it going, you know? Because it is a huge mission. I don't know how many of you, when we were writing our proposal, you know, and they're always very intense process. I thought about it and I thought, well, this to me was a very historic event. The fact that we were, you know, actually, you know, designing something for a region that will, you know, encompass a group of languages and language communities. And that's a huge responsibility. Anyway, so that's what these centers have been charged with. And so you want to know, they've been in and running for a little over a year now. They're into their 2nd year. So we want to know, how's it going? How's the National Center going?
Miigwech, Ophelia. Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, what a great question. That's what people say, right? But I was just struck too, listening to you bringing this up and saying this is an historical event with setting these up, and I'm like, I am sitting here with Ophelia Zepeda, who has been present at so many of these historical moments in language work. So miigwech for your guidance and your mentorship and your leadership in all of this time. I am amazingly honored to be a part of this. Yeah, how's it going? We heard from all of our partners here, and a couple of the centers, the Western and the Northwestern, are long-standing language resource centers, and this award allowed them to, you know, expand and, you know, really expand on the work they're doing. For us, for my work, helping set up the National Center, this is all new. And we are a virtual center. We're not housed in any one institution. So you saw the map of our places all spread out, all of our partners, all our relatives working together. We have been working we said it earlier in the year, we were building the skeleton of the body, you know. We had to build a framework to even like figure out how do we set up this virtual center? What's it going to look like? What are mechanisms? And so like Like they say, like, if you're growing a baby in your body, you're growing another human being inside of you, you know, like that's a whole big thing. And so we were like, oh, we're building the bones of the skeletons, so then we can like feed it really good things, you know, and we can give them really good beverages and, you know, really flesh out, as you say, the Native American Language Resource Center at the national level. So a lot of that we talked about is this, like, forward-looking, what is it that we're going to build up? Building that body was kind of like not exciting stuff to talk about, is it? It's like, take your vitamins in the morning and, you know, make sure you're drinking a lot of water. Switch to decaf coffee, you know, things like that. But it's a lot of like setting up systems. It's setting up schedules and communication across these distances with all of our team members, who are those PIs, who are those working group folks, who are those people running native language medium sites. It was that kind of technical infrastructure business, but also, again, thinking about this whole big, wide region. How do we connect with folks? How are we making ourselves accessible to folks and figuring out systematizing these things? What I've been really excited about is getting to know these folks at the regional teams as well and building up our collaboration. Like, we don't have to be repeating things. We don't have to do, you know, we don't have to build something if it's built over here at Neely. When there are very specific technical questions about Dakota and Lakota and Omaha and Ho-Chunk, we can say, oh, there's a Midwest Center that's got some people focusing on that. You know, if there are really effective practices going on with building teacher training and support, ALD has been working on that for a really long time. So just being able to highlight the knowledge and to be able to share that with everyone here has been really exciting. That's how it's going so far. Yay.
I'll second the idea that the thought that really building this team and figuring out how national and regional centers can support one another and work with one another is ongoing, and that's been a really great and lovely experience of the last year. For us, it really has been a planning year, and thinking of how to reach past what we've already done and regions we're already have been active in. So my colleagues Yana and Stacy are beginning the process of reaching out more to Alaska, to Montana, to Idaho, places where Neely has not been as active. Maybe, you know, working on an ANA project here and there, but not on a state level, to say, okay, what support is needed and what expertise, and we know there's a ton of it. A lot of what we've been doing this last year as well has been working on website bones. We envision a resource center, a resource hub that disseminates the products of the grant, but we also know there's a lot of ways that can be done where stuff isn't really accessible or findable. So trying to start to make sure we have a resource that is going to last and is going to work for users, as opposed to, oh, there was this great curriculum somewhere and it was dink, 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 oh, forget it. And we're planning our professional development and technical assistance offerings to roll out. Again, that's something that Neely has done, but we haven't done it in an online, all on an online framework. We'll do online courses and workshops, and the grant allows us to have a different funding structure. Our summer institute and courses have always been called to be self-sufficient. What do we say, self-sustaining? We got to cover our costs. So now some of those things still need to cover their costs, but there'll be more that can roll out that is not at cost, and we're really excited about that. I think I better stop. There's probably more I could say.
Yeah.
Okay, so at Little Priest Tribal College, like I said, we're the only regional center that is hosted at a tribal college. And with that, we're the only center that does not have that institutional foundation that you heard others talking about, except for the of course, the college and administrative structures to support the center. What that means we get things done fast. So if we hear that there is a need somewhere over there, and if I need to go to talk to my IT department, I just go across the parking lot. And you know what, they're there. I don't have to stand in line. I don't have to do anything else. We just sit down, discuss, I go back, we get things done. So in terms of that, things are happening. What needs to be done, it gets done fast. And also another exciting thing too is that you may have noticed that with these centers, we get to serve all levels of educational institutions. So as for example, previously with AHEC, I was limited to just TCU native language programs. Right now we get TCUs, we get K through 12s, we get all levels. It will get complicated. I'm not seeing that yet, but it will get very complicated and very soon. But in terms of assistance, we had elders who we use as subject matter experts come forward and say, we're ready to help, whatever you need to be done, we're ready to do this. And you know, with Ho-Chunk language too, I'll just mention that officially, we heard that it is down to the last couple of speakers who are between 80 and 90 years old. In the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska is in that situation. The Ho-Chunk Nation in Wisconsin, who speak the same language, somewhat the ones in Nebraska have, because of their removal, somewhat difference of a dialect. We're hearing that the Ho-Chunk Nation has more speakers than that, but it's not covered by our region. It's in Wisconsin, right? So we're of course discussing all these things because the way the projects were done and the way the program was prepared, there are a few things that we can work with, and I guess that's the focus of the next question.
So the West Regional Center, I think it's all of that, but in terms of what we've been doing since we were notified of the award, we're in an institution, and that actually creates a lot of time-consuming energy. So it's been a matter of, putting into place position descriptions that take time, and then interviews and all that. So we spent a lot of time getting that ready. And then the fact that we moved, the center is located in the College of Ed, and taking the spaces of Aldi, which had been there for over 40 years, but Aldi moved out, so now we're going into their spaces, and so it's a physical kind of moving as well. But I think in that, at the same time that was happening, it's where the grant monies would be handled, so all of those kinds of things. So that was really a lot of energy taking over in terms of bureaucracy and their requirements and their policies. But overall, the positive things were that we started these conversations from the get-go. When we went to our first orientation meeting in DC, we met each other and we started talking there. And pretty much set the tone that we wanted to collaborate. That even though our centers were awarded according to probably more specific needs, our needs are all similar in terms of what our communities are asking of us or what we provided in terms of services, and therefore how we can also collaborate on accommodating and expanding on the work. But along with that, at our center, we spent a lot of time getting ourselves visible. So we have been involved in panel presentations before this. ALDI continued to offer its month-long summer program in collaboration with COLANG, and that went on. The workshops that has always been done and through outreach were continuing. So at this point, it was a planning year, saying how do we build on that? But at this, I think the most important thing that we needed to do in taking steps was to get a staff together. As you notice, the staff is always very small in terms of doing this really important work. And so getting a team together that's really going to have the same passion, like we've talked about, have the same commitment, all of that is really important. So we've been able to also connected with our tribal college partners. That was part of the process, and we had to find the right time to do that, and even that is a process because there's a lot of change within 1 year across institutions doing this work. But we're in contact with them and learned quite a few things about them in terms of the fact that promoting their work is a good thing for us. Dene College has a long history of offering language courses, language program for their community at the college level, and now they're thinking about expanding on that and addressing personnel issues. So that's important for them. To'atna'atam Community College is really has done a really strong sort of like a self-reflective look at where they need to go, where they need to turn their focus, and they have decided to focus on the intergenerational transmission. So they've been doing a lot of community work and looking at Head Start and doing a lot of work in terms of community engagement. So we know that supporting that is going to be really a very positive thing. They're even opening a new center in a couple of weeks, their new language center. And then, of course, the San Carlos Apache, when we talked with them, they're visioning, that the support we can give to them is to have a language summit where they can bring their communities together, the people who are working in this, and also strive to think about developing their own teaching institute. So we've been meeting up with those, connecting with them, and making ourselves more visible, going through a lot of interviews. We've been on the radio, we've been in the paper, creating our website, and those things are really pulling in a lot of requests already. So now our next job is to take a look at those requests for help and seeing how we will manage and organize how our work is going to go from here. So a lot of things happening at the same time, but it's exciting work, as I've said before.
Okay, just in the interest of time, we did have originally 3 questions the panelists were going to address, but we're going to go ahead to the third one. Actually, the second one that was asked about limitations, some of them already addressed that, and a lot of the limitations had to do with just, the size of the responsibility that the centers have, and of course, the institutions that they sit at, and how to work through, the process at a university, and then, of course, the virtual center of the national one and the challenges there. So you heard a little bit about that. But you can sort of imagine, as they did their planning year one, all the things that they had to address in order to start moving and delivering what they said they were going to deliver. So with that in mind, we want to know what do we expect from you? What do we now expect from your centers in the coming year? You know, if you can project to that for this coming 2025 year or this funding year. Anyway, if you just have at least one thing that you can say that we'll see.
I think for our, well, not I think, our West Regional Center is really going to move on the certificate programs. We've got to put those into place. We will continue with our workshops and our summer programs, but I think from here on, we are going to be prioritizing community needs. Therefore, our breakout session this afternoon is going to help us a lot on what kinds of things would be an important priority for your communities for us to really accommodate and meet. So workshops, you know, future course development, certificate programs, all of that will be informative for us to start developing these particular aspects of the West Region Center so that they actually align with your needs. And you know, in the past, we've always been the ones to design and you come and use our services, but now it's like, no, we really want to hear what you have to ask of us, identify for us, and that's what we want to prioritize at the West Region Center.
Upcoming in future years with the National Center is, just as we were saying, empowering and strengthening languages. Hey, we want to put out some products that are tools that language revitalizers, that language reclaimers use, that are, as we say, auntie approved, cousin approved. We want to break down a lot of those barriers between some of the institutional power spaces, some of the things that have blocked us from reaching our languages previously. To that end, we're having conversations with people who do the work. We're visiting folks. We're inviting people to do site visits at some of our nonprofit partner sites. We had up there on our slide, and keep connecting with us. When you reach out for help, we may say, hey, go visit the Wadu Kudaring Ojibwe Language Institute school site. You know, it's a K-12 setting. It's a kindergarten through 9th grade setting. They're doing tons of great stuff there that an observation might help you, you know, understand. Or our partners in Hawaii, we can help to direct you. We can help to put people together. We can help people find out where are their classes, what are some tips and tricks to providing this coursework, you know, and we can reach out. We want to be that bridge. We want to be helping people network. And I think that's where we're at right now. I'm going to hand this over in the concern of time. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I only need one. I think in the next year, I'm going to tie this down to the next year. We're building and we'll be reaching out to people to solidify what we called in the grant proposal teams, because you want to make it clear to the people reading the grant, but we don't know if that's the best label, of folks from the states in the region representing tribal language programs, state educational agencies, institutes of higher ed, tribal colleges that really are the experts in the field to be helping to advise. So those will be formed and active. And also folks will see a rollout of clearer communication and messaging from us about our the offerings and opportunities that are coming up. We did learn that we are not PR experts, and it's not something we think about. So that's something that should change in the next year.
Okay, so I have a long list. but I can narrow it down to 2, 1.5, that are important. And one of the things that was brought to me by one of the programs was the issue of language teaching methodologies, and specifically seeing a language classroom. For some of us that have learned languages, you know, when you have experience, you know, you were learning Latin and your professor was doing things that way. You didn't learn anything and say, okay. You had, you know, Norwegian. Norwegian was taught, you know, in that way. And I could speak it after, in a year and a half, I could speak it, you know, there was something else different there. You know, there were other language classrooms, you know, how we learn things. Every professor does things differently. Every professor teaches a different language differently. A lot of our language instructors do not have that luxury. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, I will say, you know, you heard yesterday, you know, people learn Japanese language, people learn the Chinese language, and, you know, have you seen the Chinese writing system? You know, look up on some of your made in China labels, you know what it looks like. And people learn that. There are methodologies. So bringing those opportunities for the language instructors to see how other languages are taught. And after you see how professors teach the Chinese language, Lakota will be so easy, believe me. Another also important issue that I wanted to mention, what we had in our project and in our project goals is grant writing assistance. And if you're looking to start a program, a lot of our programs start with grant writing and with grant funding. So instead of looking for a grant writing firm that you will be contracting and paying for those services, you know that now you can come to a regional center. And we can help you plan your project and see what we can do about it. And guess what? It's free.
Thank you. Thank you for all your responses to the question. We have the last slide up here, and this is just an invitation to all of you to join the breakout session for this panel. As we said, this is new funding. This is a whole new venture on the part of the federal government and the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Indian Education. So it's important for these centers and the National Center to have a very strong network of language programs, language teachers, language educators out across the United States. And so it's important that we get your input and your participation. And so this afternoon, we'd like to invite you to join us in, hearing from you, what these centers can do for you, what you'd like for them to do for you. And we're very interested in, of course, supporting your efforts, expand what you're doing now, and of course, to promote and advance your expertise in the area that you're working in your community, schools, and so forth. So we invite you to join us this afternoon. And then finally, we do want to remind you to use the QR code that are on the cards on the table, and fill out the little short surveys that are on them. We want to gather some information that way as well. So with that, I'd like to thank we'd like to thank here's another QR code. This is the West Center's code. If you want to take that image here, otherwise it's on the table. And then the Northwest QR code is here as well. And their card and information should be on your table as well. Okay, is that the last slide? Okay, so I want to thank the panelists, and also thank you for your attention to what we had to offer this morning. So thank you very much.